We've already made it to Preakness weekend, and the day before the Preakness Stakes, we'll have the Friday featured staple at Pimlico Racecourse, the Black-Eyed Susan, with a field of 13 slated to go. Nick Tammaro here taking a look at that 3-year-old filly stake, joined by Darin Zoccali. Darin, we're back. We're going to try and get it done this weekend.
Yeah, well, we weren't exactly on target in the Derby, but then again, nobody really was. So you had a very good pick, though, in the Peter Pan Stakes, where We the People look like maybe he should be running this weekend at Pimlico. But kudos to you on a great selection there. We'll try to keep it going again this weekend.
I appreciate it, but I will not rest on my laurels nor on my Pimlicos. No more dad jokes. On to the Black-Eyed Susan with a baker's dozen going posted. I'll tell you what, this actually came up given the depth and the I guess how interesting the Oaks field was. We really have a slew of graded stakes caliber 3-year-old fillies right now. And let's start in this particular race by taking a look at the likely favorite, the morning line favorite, number 10, Adair Manor, who comes in. Now she's in the care of Sean McCarthy after finishing a good second in the Santa Anita Oaks. You have to be a little bit bolstered as far as this filly's credentials by how well Desert Dawn ran in the Oaks.
Yeah, exactly. She outperformed what my expectations certainly were, given the load of talent in that particular field. She comes into this with a very similar pattern to Messier going into the Derby, where she had those 2 months off in between the Las Virgenes and the Santa Anita Oaks. Now, Messier, of course, got cooked by Derby. I don't envision necessarily a wild speed duel here, but certainly seems to be plenty of pace to keep this filly honest. She's shipping out of Southern California for the first time, which is always a question. She's moving to a new barn for this race. We'll see how that changes things out. But from a speed figure standpoint, from a talent standpoint, you have to figure that she's the horse to beat.
Yeah, you'd imagine she'll get a good outside stalking trip. That's sort of the trip that jockey John Velasquez covets. And, these horses, similar to Messier, as you said, the thing that you naturally become critical of as a handicapper is that it feels like her big figure effort, which came in the Las Virgenes, was courtesy of a really kind of soft pace on a good inside. And we saw that play out with both she and Messier, who scored those big wins that day. I thought she ran a pretty determined race in the Santa Anita Oaks and is a deserving favorite. Let's take a look at your pick, number 12, Favor, who comes in off a third place finish in the Fairgrounds Oaks. No shame in finishing third behind the likes of Echo Zulu and Hidden Connection. Echo Zulu arguably ran, at worst, the second best race in the Kentucky Oaks.
Yeah, totally agree. I mean, this filly obviously was up against it that day because Hidden Connection is still a very high caliber and a high class filly, to say the least. The draw probably did her no favors here. She's going to have to navigate a trip and avoid going wide, but I trust Tyler Gaffleon to be able to put forth a solid a trip into this filly. She has some tactical speed. She could lay close, but I think if she's somewhere around 4 or 5 lengths off the lead here, I don't think that's going to do her much of a disadvantage. Stretching out to the 1 1/8, she definitely has plenty of stamina, pedigree, top and bottom in there. She's cycling forward. The speed figures are on the improve. She goes out for hot connections. A lot of things to like here with a filly that's 8-1 on the morning line. Somebody's got to be a price here. And I thought where some of the wise guy money might go in this spot, Favor could be one that maybe kind of slips through the cracks a little bit.
Felt absolutely plausible with that approach. Number 7, Distinctly Possible, is actually my pick. Second place finisher in last year's Alcibiades. Came back off the layoff at Keeneland to break her maiden for Chad Brown. Beat a filly named Miss Yearwood that day, who came right back to break her maiden on opening night at Churchill Downs, going 1 1/4 miles, and is actually in this field. Distinctly Possible is a little slow on speed figures, but it really felt to me like she's going to get the best of it in terms of the setup. I think there's plenty of speed in here. We talked already about the likely favorite Adair Manor being on the outside. She figures to force the issue a good bit with Interstate Daydream, likely to show some speed. I think we're going to get some early foot from Midnight Stroll as well on the stretch out. And Missy Greer comes in, having shown a lot of early interest in her most recent running lines. Did you think Distinctly Possible might be in line to get a nice setup?
Oh, I thought she's going to get a great setup here. She was actually one of the ones I was talking about when I talked about Wise Guy Money. I think she's going to be a popular pick with Chad Brown and Irad here, and the way that the pace scenario is going to develop. If you asked for me to pick one filly here who I thought potentially had the best future long-term, I would probably say Distinctly Possible. I think she's got a ton of ability, a ton of talent. Obviously, she's extremely well-bred. They paid $670,000 for her. Chad Brown is a master at getting fillies right in time for a big spot like this, and I think it's a spot on the calendar that they had circled for. There's nothing not to like. The speed figures may have to come up a little bit, but you take a look at the caliber of competition she's kept. Juju's Map, Jerry Mander, who's a very nice filly who makes her hay over in New York. You mentioned the filly that she beat, came back to win, and is in this field as well. There's nothing not to like, including the trip. And I think she's going to be one of the major contenders rolling down the center of the stretch as they come down to the wire.
I agree completely. Perhaps one of those candidates also is number 11, Radio Days, who, Shug McGahee has a couple of horses entered on Friday. The other that's like this filly is First Captain, who's running in the Pimlico Special, who I've long believed was a one-turn, one-run kind of horse. I think he's probably just a little lesser than graded stake caliber. Are they kind of giving up on Radio Day, stretching her out? I felt like they kind of knew what was good for her early on, and now that she's not panned out, they're just kind of throwing their hands in the air.
That's kind of the approach I took, because with Shug McGahee, when you talk about two-turn types, he typically identifies them pretty quickly. Yeah. We've known him to start horses at 1.125 miles in their 2-year-old season at times. So the fact that this filly has gone one turn 5 times and is now stretching out, that for me is not a positive, especially for this particular barn. So I'm going to be surprised if she takes to the 9 furlongs. Well, for me, she's a fade despite the top-notch connections.
Yeah, I agree completely. I would have really liked to see her in maybe a race like the Jersey Girl on Belmont weekend going six furlongs. I think that's really ultimately going to be her game. And there's going to be real money here for a filly that obviously has shown some ability. Number 6, Luna Bell, comes in as the local hopeful, a Maryland bred for trainer Hamilton Smith, who's won 5 straight races, including the local prep, the unofficial prep over at Laurel, the Weber City Miss. What do you think of Luna Bell's chances?
I mean, she's obviously got plenty of ability. I don't know how good the likes of Candy Light really are, who's actually in this field, or Click to Confirm, who did come out of that race 2 back to win her next out. It's tough to get a measure of how she's going to stack up against this particular group. Her speed figures have definitely gotten right to the level where she needs to be in order to contend at this in this field. She's never run over Pimlico, despite the fact that she's been a Maryland-based filly for the last 9 months or so. She could get a good setup here. She goes out for local connections. She'll be a very popular story if she can get the job done. I'm a little bit concerned, though, that she might be a little bit overbet.
One for the underdogs for sure is Luna Bell. It's a really good edition of the Black-Eyed Susan. Darin, thanks for joining me. We'll have to do this again soon.
I think we will too.
I think we will as well. We'll be talking about a little race on Saturday afternoon. That's it for our look at the Black-Eyed Susan. For Darin Zoccali, I'm Nick Tammaro telling you until next time, best of luck.